Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to recognize a binomial as a difference of squares and how to factor a binomial into a difference of squares. How are we learning it? Through the factoring using difference of squares notes and factoring using difference of squares assignment. When can we use this information? To examine problems in your life from different perspectives in order to find the best approach to simplify the problem. How do you know you learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the factoring using difference of squares assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over the learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. After that, we'll go over the factoring using difference of squares notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the factoring using difference of squares assignment. Once you've completed the assignment, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your Before You Go. Your only homework for tonight is to continue working on the quadratic study guide and any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the factoring using difference of squares notes. The notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. Now, factoring. Factoring is a term that means simplifying a problem by determining the factors of the expression. So we need to be able to pick out a common factor that exists within a number or a set of numbers. So in this case, let's just look at 36. What are the factors of 36? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, and 36. These are factors because I can multiply all of these numbers by something and get 36. Or another way to look at it is 36 is divisible evenly by all of these numbers. So these are factors. So what is a difference of squares? A difference of squares is subtraction of two terms that are perfect squares. For instance, x squared minus 1. So remember, difference means subtraction, so it's got to be subtraction. And each of these numbers needs to be a perfect square. Well, we know that x squared is the quantity x to the second power, and 1 is just 1 squared. So this is a difference of squares. So this would be an example. So how do we factor a difference of squares? We're going to use the following methods. So anytime we start with something like this, and we have a number squared minus a number squared, it becomes a plus b times a minus b. Okay, so it's just something you have to memorize. So a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So let's look at an example. X squared minus 4. Well, if we rewrite this, if we put it in this form, this is really x squared minus 2 squared. So when we write that, we would write x plus 2 times x minus 2, and that would be our factored version. So look at another example. We have x squared minus 4. We said that is... So let's check our work by distributing. So we said that x squared minus 4 is equal to x plus 2 times x minus 2. Well, let's go ahead and distribute this and see if it works. So we're going to multiply x times x and x times negative 2, and then 2 times x and then 2 times negative 2. So we get x squared here minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. We combine our like terms. Negative 2x plus 2x is just 0, so this becomes x squared minus 4. So we did it correctly. Let's look at another example. We have 25x squared minus 16. Well, 25x squared is really 5x squared, and 16 is really 4 squared. So we can rewrite this as 5x plus 4 times 5x minus 4, and that's our factored version. So again, another example, 25x to the 4th minus 16. Well, we have a power of 4 here, but is that still a perfect square? Well, we know 25 is a perfect square, and then x to the 4th is really x squared squared. So we can go ahead and enter that in. So this is 5x squared plus 4 times 5x squared minus 4. And that would be our difference of squares. Another example, 3x squared minus 12. Well, we can see that 3 is not a perfect square and 12 is not a perfect square. However, we can see if we can use our method from yesterday as well. So we can see if we can factor out a common factor first. So is there anything in common between 3 and negative 12? Well, we can see that 3 is a factor of both 3 and negative 12. So let's go ahead and factor that out. So 3x squared divided by 3 is just x squared, and negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Well, now we have this 3 here. Now we have a difference of squares inside the parentheses, so we can factor that. So this is really x squared and 2 squared. So this would be x plus 2 times x minus 2. So this becomes 3 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. Now there's a video here at the end that shows you how to check your work using Symbolab. So you can go ahead and watch that video on how to factor using Symbolab. Let's talk now about how we can use the Symbolab factor calculator to factor polynomials. So if you notice, I am on Symbolab, and it does say that this is the factor calculator. So when you do that, the word factor should already be here. And now I'm just going to put in the equation that I want to factor. So let's say it's x squared minus 4. So that's what I'm going to put in, and I'm going to go ahead and click go. So when I do that, it gives me the answer down here at the bottom, x plus 2 times x minus 2, and it shows me the steps of how I can get there. So this is one way to check your work to see if you did your work correctly when factoring. So this is how Symbolab factor calculator can help you with your factoring. Let's take a look now at the factoring using difference of squares assignment. The assignment begins with the learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, we can see the questions. So the first one says factor the expression x squared minus 1. Well, we should recognize that this is x squared minus 1 squared. So we can break that up and make it x plus 1 times x minus 1, which is this one right here. So we'll go ahead and mark that as our answer. We'll scroll down. Let's look at another one. How about this one? 36x squared minus 49. Well, we should recognize 36x squared as being 6x squared minus 7 squared. So we can break that up and make it 6x plus 7 times 6x minus 7, which is this one right here. So we'll continue to answer all of these until we get to the end. When we get to the end of this assignment, go ahead and click next. This will take you to your before you go. Go ahead and fill out your before you go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.